You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Good morning. Welcome to December. Whoa, how did we get to December? And I love that we're already talking about the energy of the day in the chat. Shauna says, good morning, excited about what this Neptune energy will bring, stationing direct again. So yes, Neptune, the planet of dreams, illusions, the planet that rules our subconscious, has stationed direct as of 5:30 this morning. It's been retrograde since June 25th. So the past 5 months, we've been doing a lot of reviewing of our spirituality, of maybe our sleep cycles, quite literally, of connecting with our intuition. Yes, Neptune is in my third house of Pisces. So your Neptune, is kind of having like a return right now, depending on what degree it's at in Pisces, Jennifer. So yeah, you're probably feeling this energy a little bit more. And those of you who have heavy Pisces placements are ruled by Neptune. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. So you're probably feeling this a little bit more as well. And then Julian says, Neptune has me being snoozy today. And I am feeling that too. I don't know. Tell me how you guys slept, because I was like buzzing last night, couldn't fall asleep, but this morning I have not felt so tired in so long. So yeah, it's interesting because Neptune is, the planet that rules our sleep, but a lot of times retrogrades get a bad rap. Because they kind of make us go back in time or review or revisit issues, especially, Mercury retrograde gets all the slack for all the chaos in our lives. But what's interesting about Neptune's retrograde, okay, Jennifer, yeah, you were buzzing too. Well, also with your Neptune being in your third house, that's very buzzy energy. So you're probably feeling like a positive from this, like, yes, I'm excited to get back out and talk to people and learn and communicate. But yeah, I have really felt it with my sleep today. For sure. I've been so tired, and I'm curious if anybody had vivid dreams or anything like that, because Neptune rules our dreams, rules our subconscious. But what I was saying about retrogrades is that they often get this, bad reputation that they're going to throw everything upside down in our lives. But with Neptune's retrograde, it was a long period that it was retrograde since June. So think back to the end of June, what was going on in your life, what issues have come up since then, what issues you might have revisited, because retrogrades are a time to review, revisit, reflect. So you might have been, like I said, reflecting on your own connection to your intuition. You might have been reflecting on subconscious beliefs, revisiting those beliefs. Neptune is also the planet of spirit and rules our beliefs. So you might have revisited your own spirituality or reconnected with your own spirituality during this time. And because Neptune is the planet of illusions, the planet of confusion, the planet of deceit, a retrograde of Neptune actually can bring us more clarity. So I heard my favorite astrologers, the Astro Twins, go check them out. I heard them when Neptune went retrograde in June. They described it as a pulling back of the curtain. So you can think of Neptune like this fantasy, but when it's retrograde, we get a behind the scenes look. We can view our fantasies, even our imagination in a more practical way and kind of see the inner workings of the illusion, if that makes sense. So the past 5 months might have actually brought more clarity. Now that Neptune is stationing direct, that fog is returning. And I was really thinking about this. Okay, how is this going to affect us moving forward now that the planet of illusions is stationing direct? And I see this, as an ability to tap into our intuition more easily, tap into our spirituality more easily, flow with our subconscious a little bit more easily, and take everything we've learned over the past 5 months and start acting on it and moving forward with it and stepping into it confidently as we've had these past 5 months to really go back to the drawing board and see how our subconscious is playing out in our everyday life, right? But I also envision Neptune and Pisces energy in general, ruling the 12th house as sort of that veil between our dimension and other dimensions. And I think when Neptune has been retrograde, at least for me personally, what I've been feeling is a more difficult time connecting with my spirit guides, getting into deep meditation. It really feels like my rational mind has been taking over a little bit more. And that could just be the season of life I'm in. Let me know if you're feeling that as well. But now that Neptune is stationing direct, I'm feeling like it'll be easy to peek through that veil again, to have that communication across dimensions, across space and time, to open our consciousness up to other realities, to, spirit, connections with spirit, with angels, with those things. I see Neptune going direct as helping us regain those connections, if that makes sense. So I'm curious how you're interpreting Neptune going direct. It's a tricky planet to talk about when it comes to retrogrades because it almost feels like Neptune energy all the time is kind of like this retrograde energy. Not that it's moving backwards, but Neptune brings a lot of confusion and, like I said, deceit, illusion. So when it's retrograde, we get a dose of clarity, and when it goes direct, we kind of lean back into that illusion a little bit again. Not always a bad thing either. Being able to tap into our imagination can help our creativity flow. We can also be a little bit more empathetic towards other people now that Neptune has stationed direct. Neptune rules our sensitivities. I think we can dream a little bit bigger now. Over the past 5 months, it might have felt like, okay, I have these dreams, but how can I practically make them happen? When it's Neptune's retrograde, we are thinking through that practical lens. Now that it's direct, we're like, dream on. I've got the biggest dreams, the biggest visions. I'm not compromising them for anybody. And Neptune going direct allows us to dream even bigger than we've been dreaming already this year. So I see this December with Neptune going direct as a lot of us just kind of leaning into our dreams for 2022 and beyond, leaning into that fantasy of what we want to call in the new year. And I think Neptune can really be used to our advantage when it comes to manifestation as well, because manifesting what you desire is all about believing that you're worthy of it, believing that it is possible. So that element of belief, being able to lean into that again, I think can really help us gain a clearer vision of what we want to call in the next chapter, especially as we're leading up to Friday's solar eclipse, which marks the end of a 1.5-year cycle, an end of a 1.5-year chapter since June of 2020. And also we had the lunar eclipse in Taurus on November 19th that marked the beginning of a new cycle. So over the past 2 weeks, we've really been in this limbo between an ending and a beginning. And I think, there's no mistakes when it comes to the planetary placements in the universe. I think Neptune going direct is allowing us to dream a little bit bigger, to lean into our intuition again as we head into the next chapter. Yes, I feel like our dream about the future and what we need to do to revise it was more confusing these past few months. Yes. I feel that too. I think it was easier, at least for me, in the earlier part of the year to have these grand visions and these grand dreams about what I want in life. And Neptune retrograde, in a way, has helped me lean more into the how of making them happen. I'm here, I'm living my dream, talking to you right now, which is amazing. And I think Neptune retrograde, along with, so many other factors, allowed me to, like I said, pull back that curtain, look under the hood of the engine or whatever you want to call it and be like, okay, how can we actually make this happen? How can we make this work? But I will say in that process, I have felt a little bit disconnected from a lot of my spiritual practices because I've been so focused on the how and the rational and the practical behind the scenes. And I'm hoping now that Neptune is direct, it'll be easier for me to get those messages from my guides and lean into that side of myself. So yeah, I just dove right into Neptune, but that's what the people wanted to talk about. You guys were already talking about it before the live stream even started, which I absolutely love. So that's really the only major transit we're talking today other than what's going on with the moon. And it's kind of nice that we have this calmer energy today because, the past 2 days, if you've been watching the live streams or just following the astrology forecast in general, we've had so many planetary connections between the Sun and Mercury and Chiron and Saturn and Venus and Mars and Neptune. So Venus and Mars have both connected with Neptune over the past 2 days. I think sort of preparing us for Neptune to station direct. We could kind of like align our masculine energy with Neptune on Monday, start acting from a place of our bigger dreams, from our imagination. And then yesterday with Venus connecting with Neptune, I think it allowed our feminine side, our love lives, our relationships to connect with Neptune and get into that imaginative energy, that sensitive energy again. And now we're ready. Neptune is direct and we can move forward more connected to our spirituality and our intuition. So, like I said, really nice to have more of a calm transit today because we've had so many planetary connections to go over in the past couple days. So now let's talk about the moon, which just moved into Scorpio at 4 a.m. Pacific time. So Scorpio moon. I have a Scorpio moon. I have a soft spot for the Scorpio moon, but it can bring some intense emotions. Just putting that out there. First thing Wednesday morning, we have the moon moving into a new sign today, and that can bring some emotional depth. Scorpio, the deepest, darkest sign, loves to feel things deeply. And this can be a moment of checking in with our own shadows, checking in with the corners of our subconscious, of our emotions. Especially, we have to talk about the solar eclipse as we get closer and closer to it because it really feels like this energy is leading up to this end of a chapter. And as we head towards this final solar eclipse on the Gemini-Sagittarius axis, we are experiencing this waning crescent moon in Scorpio. The waning crescent moon asks us to surrender and release, let go. And with it being in Scorpio, this will really show us what parts of our shadow we need to let go of, what limiting beliefs we need to let go of. This could look like a bit of shadow work today. And when I say shadow work, that doesn't necessarily mean like you're in therapy or in a seminar or journaling about your trauma or whatever it is, whatever comes to mind when you first think of shadow work. Sometimes shadow work, at least to me, is just observing our most intense emotions, observing our triggers. With the moon in Scorpio, we can be a little bit more triggered. We can be ready to lash out at a moment's notice, to protect ourselves, to go into that Scorpion mode. So if that's coming up for you today, and that might with the connections the moon is making, I'll get to that in just a moment, observe what's coming up and observe what needs to be released, what you need to let go of. Even if that's like a cord cutting exercise, this would be a great time for it before the solar eclipse on Friday. Because Scorpio rules that energetic exchange and can really show us what energy we are still giving away or we're still connected to that's no longer serving our highest purpose. So take that as you will, whatever that means to you. I know for me, I actually just had a great conversation with one of my business coaches earlier in the week about cord cutting on social media and how I've been limiting myself, how I'm showing up, because I have this energetic tie to certain followers, a certain type of follower. So that was a big revelation for me. So that's something I'm working on ahead of the new moon in Sagittarius, this solar eclipse. But pay attention to what energetic cords are coming up for you. And if you're not familiar with the concept of cord cutting, definitely look into it. I'm sure there are resources on YouTube or even podcasts all about cord cutting. You can even find quick 5-10 minute meditations about cord cutting that kind of walk you through the visualization aspect. And that could be especially powerful as well now that Neptune is direct. We'll be able to go deeper into our meditations, deeper into our subconscious. So cord cutting, I just keep saying it. This is the time. Cut those cords. Let's talk about what's going on with the moon as far as the transits go. So actually, the moon is not making any major connections until tonight. So we've got the Scorpio moon just kind of floating through Scorpio, making its way until, I believe, 6 p.m. Let's jump ahead a few hours. Yeah, so at 6 p.m., you can see the Scorpio moon down here makes a connection with Chiron. This isn't an opposition, it's an inconjunct angle or an imbalanced angle. So this is kind of an awkward energy. And here's how I see this playing out. We have at 6 and 7 connections with the moon. So we'll probably feel those energies merge. But first, the moon makes this awkward connection with Chiron, the wounded healer. This is all about shadow work, yet again. Whatever trauma you haven't faced, whatever pain you're still holding on to, you might have to observe. This can show us what adjustments we need to make before the solar eclipse on Friday. It can shine light on what still needs to be healed. But what I like to point out about these inconjunct angles is the moon already faced off against Chiron, I believe, 2 days ago. We already had this opposition to Chiron, forcing us to confront those deepest pains head on. Now, the moon has moved past that point. So I see this as a reminder that you've already faced whatever Chiron brought up. You've already faced those wounds. You've already observed and confronted what needs to be healed. So today, when the moon connects with Chiron again, this can kind of feel like this awkwardness, like, am I still holding on to, but what adjustments do I need to make to move on? Not quite as intense of an angle, but yeah, this is a moment of releasing with the waning crescent moon and moving on. And just remember, you've already confronted these issues head on, especially with all the connections Chiron has been making over the past couple of days. And with this sextile between Chiron and Saturn still playing out right now, both in this loose sextile with one another, we've already gained the lessons from the pain. We have already confronted these things. So any awkwardness that you feel around 6 o'clock this evening or just this evening in general, when it comes to your trauma, when it comes to your pain, remember that you are ready to move past it and you're ready to release. Do that cord cutting exercise if that's coming up for you. By 7 p.m., the moon squares off to Saturn. And again, we've been seeing this play out all week because Saturn and Chiron are connected to each other. Anytime the moon connects with one, it connects with the other shortly after or around the same time. So the moon is forming a square to Saturn, a 90-degree angle, which is honestly the toughest angle to deal with, to experience. A square brings an energy of tension and makes us feel like we need to take action. We have Saturn in an air sign and the moon in a water sign, both in these fixed energies. So it can feel like Saturn, the limiter, the rule maker, is fixed and standing and where it wants to be. And our moon is kind of fixed as well. Our emotional state is fixed. So both of these energies are forming this tension because neither of them really wants to move or succumb to the other energy, if that makes sense. So when the moon squares off to Saturn, basically, this can have kind of a depressing, negative effect on our mood by this evening. And I would say, especially with a Scorpio moon, you might feel yourself going into that negativity, going into those shadows, kind of going into a little bit of depression or even anger, especially because the angle brings tension about. This can flare our tempers by 7 p.m. Pacific time. So Saturn rules our responsibility, and we can take advantage of this tense energy by taking responsibility for our emotions, even negative emotions. Owning your feelings can help you navigate them more easily. Even something as simple as saying, wow, I'm really angry right now, and owning it and naming it. And once you're able to name it, okay, I'm really angry, then you can see, where's that anger coming from? That's that shadow work, right? Simply observing your emotions can be a form of shadow work. And once you get to the root of where is this anger coming from? Why am I feeling so triggered right now? There's your chance to do that cord cutting. There's your chance to release. There's your chance to lean into the energy of the waning crescent moon. I'm a Scorpio. Wow. Okay, so Scorpio moon, you're going to be feeling it a little bit more intensely than maybe some other signs, Kevin. Expect to be a little bit more emotional today. All right, so the moon connects with Chiron and Saturn by this evening. Can make us really reflect on the healing we need to do still, make us, our emotions flare up a little bit, and really show us what needs to be healed. By 11 p.m. Pacific time, the last connection the moon makes today is an opposition to Uranus. So we'll jump ahead here. Oop, jumped too far. Okay, so the moon here in Scorpio is opposing Uranus in Taurus. Another kind of intense transit. It's funny because we started the live stream and we're like, yay, Neptune's direct. How's everybody feeling? And then it's like, okay, but also the moon is in Scorpio and making these really intense connections today. So, you win some, you lose some. What does that mean for us when the moon opposes Uranus? Well, this could look like a mood swing by the end of the night, especially if you've been triggered earlier in the evening, you're doing that deep emotional work with the moon in Scorpio, or just having deep emotions in general. By the end of the night, when the moon opposes changemaker Uranus, we could have an emotional outburst or a mood swing. Uranus kind of rules our need for excitement. We can want a thrill under Uranus, and the moon in Scorpio kind of leans toward wanting to control. So beware of trying to control the situation by causing drama, by creating your own thrill. These planets are in two of the most reactive signs, Taurus, the bull, and Scorpio, the scorpion. So it could be really easy to lash out tonight if you're emotionally triggered. Try not to do that. Be aware that this energy is coming. Take a beat, take a pause. Don't take it out on the people around you. Luckily, this is happening super late at night, so maybe you'll already be asleep at this point. But just later tonight, especially with Neptune going direct, potentially messing with our sleep cycle a little bit. I know people have said in the chat, and I'm experiencing as well, feeling a little bit more tired today with the planet that rules our dreams stationing direct, changing direction. So, late tonight, you might be a little bit cranky under the Scorpio moon. Just don't let your emotions get the best of you. If you find yourself getting cranky or getting a little bit triggered, getting a little irritated, that might be your sign to put yourself to bed or to go do some meditation on your own. Lean into that Neptune energy today. Really sit with yourself rather than looking to other people to fulfill those emotional needs or take out that irritation on. I know we all have the best intentions, but part of astrology, at least for me, is being real about our emotions and confronting them. And so sometimes when there's difficult transits, we can see them as an opportunity to adjust our patterning or have a breakthrough or lean more deeply into our healing. Oh, good. Oh, Kevin, that makes me so happy. Really needed this. I feel like I'll be able to handle today a lot better. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for showing up for yourself and showing up to the live stream and leaning into that energy, being open to accepting the energy of today. That is the first step. So those are all the transits we're talking about. Let's do a little overview and then we will pull a card, see what Spirit has for us today. So welcome to December. Neptune stations direct today. Over the past 5 months during Neptune's retrograde, we've reviewed our connection to our intuition. We've reviewed our own spirituality. We might have even had to kind of reconnect with our sleep cycle or make adjustments to our sleep cycle. Now that Neptune is direct, we can lean more into our spirituality, go deeper in our subconscious, and open our awareness up to other realities, other dimensions again. Really feel that imaginative energy again, rather than seeing our dreams through the practical lens that we have been looking through while Neptune has been retrograde. So Neptune going direct allows us to tap into that creativity again, especially as we head into the holiday season and envision our biggest dreams for 2022. The moon also moves into Scorpio today, inviting us to release any intense or dark emotions that are no longer serving us. This is a great time for cord cutting. The moon is forming angles to Chiron and Saturn, showing us what still needs to be healed, what we need to let go of. And by late tonight, the moon opposes Uranus, which could bring some mood swings or some anger. So beware of your emotions today, observe them, and use them as lessons of what you need to release before Friday's solar eclipse. All right, now let's pull a card. So I'm going to pull from my most Neptune-looking deck today, the Starseed Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. I just feel like this is like a physical, this is what I think of, like color-wise, design-wise, when I think of Neptune. And I think it's so perfect because, Neptune rules our openness to other realities, other dimensions. And if you're familiar with the concept of a starseed, I really feel like that's kind of I don't know, is the word Neptunian? I'm going to go with Neptunian, a Neptune concept. So as I'm shuffling, let me know if you have any more thoughts about Neptune stationing direct, how you're feeling, how your sleep has been feeling over the past 5 months, how you're feeling this morning. Oh, yeah, you just ordered this deck. It's a good one. I've only pulled from it a couple times, but I really like it so far. And just all of Rebecca Campbell's decks. Whoop, we just lost one. Lost two. All of Rebecca Campbell's decks are so beautifully designed. All of the art on them is amazing. And I'm still looking for deck recommendations, you guys, because I'm slowly expanding my collection. But if you have any good Oracle decks or tarot decks that you absolutely love, Neptunium, let's go. Yeah. I don't know if I made that word up, but now we're using it. It's part of our vernacular on this show, Neptunian. Okay. What do we need to know as Neptune stations direct? Okay, I think the only other time I pulled from this deck, I got this card. Wild. It's called We the Hathors. Deep love, mother's milk, birth as a portal. So let's read the description again. But that's kind of blowing my mind that I have already pulled this, potentially the only other time I used this deck. Why are there so many different tarot decks? I have one. Well, Kevin, like a basic tarot deck, I really don't think you need more than one, but these are all oracle decks, and I personally love oracle decks because they tend to have like a little bit more of a positive connotation, and I really enjoy all the little descriptions. But if you know how to read tarot, I mean, you can read tarot even with just, I think, regular playing cards. You don't really need a fancy deck, but I like to be a little bit more bougie and get the fun artwork and all the beautifully written descriptions. So let's read what this has for us today. We, the Hathors, deep love, mother's milk, birth as a portal. Birth is a portal that ushers in new life. The Hathors are here to remind you that you're a child of the cosmic mother and you're being called to be held by her deep, never-ending love and embrace. This is a tender, nourishing card reminding you to receive the deep, deep love of the mother's embrace. The Hathors know that the journey on earth can be rocky and lonely at times, but you're being reminded to rest more deeply in the mother's arms. This is a card of extreme potency, of femininity, of creation, and of birth. You're being called to mother yourself and others too, to surrender to your sacred femininity, to create and surrender to your own creations, to hold and be held. You're being called to remember your place in the web of life and to realize that the cosmic mother is watching you every step of the way. You may be going through a transition right now, moving from one way of being to another. If so, you're being reminded that you're cradled in a sacred container, that you're more held than you can possibly imagine, and you have access to more love than your heart can bear. If you are struggling in any way, you're being reassured that things will work out. Open yourself to receiving the overflowing love of the cosmic mother flooding toward you from every direction. Let it stretch your heart. And here's the invocation or the prayer. I allow the deep love of the cosmic mother to wash over me. I'm loved, I'm held. Ooh, 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 ooh. I love that card. And I think, there are no coincidences, there are no actions. What are the odds of me pulling the same card from the same deck twice in a row? I've shuffled them very well, by the way. And this just really, as I was reading that, made me think about Neptune energy. And when this description is referring to the cosmic mother, I see that as the universe, God, goddess, spirit, source, whatever you want to call the higher power. Neptune rules our connection to that higher power, our belief, religion. And this card is inviting us to lean back into our connection with God, with the cosmic mother, to know that you are deeply loved and held by the universe. And at the same time, Neptune energy allows us to tap into our own sensitivities. And this card is reminding us to be that feminine mother energy for other people as well, to be sensitive and empathetic to other people, to be sensitive and empathetic to yourself, especially with kind of the difficult moon transits today. Be sensitive to yourself, mother yourself, nurture yourself, allow sleep, allow yourself to sleep if you're feeling tired, just like your mother would if you were a baby. So remember to mother yourself and remember that you're being mothered by the universe every step of the way. You're being held by the universe. Neptune stationing direct helps us deepen that connection and that love of God, of religion as you experience it. Yes, Shauna, so perfect. Love all this confirmation, and I love that it's resonating with you all too. Yeah, Kevin, that was deep. It was deep, but the moon's in Scorpio, so we love to go deep with the moon in Scorpio. All right, everybody, this has been so fun. I'm still mind blown that we pulled the same card twice in a row, just inviting us to connect with spirit. I hope you all have a lovely, restful day. I hope you are able to connect with a higher power moving forward more easily now that Neptune is direct. I hope whatever triggers or emotions might come up for you, good or bad, you can observe them, learn from them, and help them or let them lead you towards your highest self today. So that's going to be it for today's live stream. I'll be back right here tomorrow morning, still toying around with the time that we're doing these live streams. I'm thinking that doing them a little bit later is actually better for a lot of people because I'm seeing more people coming on after 8 o'clock. So if that's true for you, you enjoy this later time slot, let me know in the comments or message me, DM me on Instagram. And as always, we are doing this live. We're doing this for time to go wrestle my demons. Yeah, that is the energy. Wrestle those demons, but also don't fight them too much. Just like cut the cord. We don't need those demons anymore. The last thing I'll say is that if you're enjoying this free content and you want to support it in a fun way, head over to my website, thespiritualjournalist.com, click shop in the top right-hand corner and buy yourself or a loved one something fun for the holidays. I'll be including more astrology-focused merchandise in the next couple weeks, adding some new designs. But right now, there's some fun stuff that you can go get your hands on, and it's the easiest, most fun way to support this free live stream. So thank you so much for supporting just by showing up today, by commenting, by being part of the conversation. That is an incredible support to me as well, and I'm so grateful for you every day for being here. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. I hope Neptune treats you well today and the Scorpio Moon, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow. But until then, stay curious.